lecture, I was informed by Dr. Arnetta that there's some of the students were not able to join because there's no electricity in Aurelio area. So basically, you can record my lecture so that your classmates who are not here can also have a and also listen to our lecture. Hello? Hello?
Hello po, Doc.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes po, Doc.
Please respond from time to time so that I'll know that you are still there. Okay. So, okay, so can we start?
Yes, Doc.
Yes.
Okay, everyone, good morning, everyone. Again, I'm Dr. Can you see me? For a while, or you can see me, no? Um, turn on my. Okay, sige.
Recording in progress.
Okay, sige, let's start. Okay, sige. So, in continuation of Dr. Arenetta's lecture, I'll be discussing this morning three important topics or drugs that affects our endocrine system. No? So basically, they are those drugs that affect our thyroid, drugs that affect bone mineral homeostasis, and then drugs that are used for obesity. Okay, so um, again, reiterate main textbook, but again, you can always read other books to help you understand. If you can't understand, if you feel it's not enough for you to grasp the concept of those topics, you can always read other books. No, but just for our main textbook, in my side, these two books is already enough and complement each other. So I really want you to grasp or grab the latest edition of Gatsung. There's already a 16th edition, no? So just a tips or a secret when you study, aside from memorizing, please understand the whole concept, no? Okay. Different books, Mango, they have different way of presenting it. But if you grasp or understand when you study the concept, then it will not be hard on you. Okay. So I'll be discussing first on the drugs that used for, we'll discuss first the drugs used for thyroid disorders. So basically, as a review, our thyroid gland is located on our neck, no? It comes from the Greek word thyrus, meaning shield. So you have two lobes, right and left. It is connected by an isthmus. It is located anterior to the trachea. So that's why in thyroid carcinoma or in your thyroid gland is really very big already. Some of the patient will complain of dyspnea, okay, because thyroidectomy, then you expect a very bloody procedure, no? Because this is a highly vascular gland, no? It is soft. That's why one of the ways to diagnose goiter, enlargement of thyroid gland, is through palpation. So basically, normally it's soft, no? But if you can palpate that it's already big and nodular, then you could also say that there's something wrong because by anatomy, normal anatomy, your thyroid gland is really soft. There are four parathyroid glands located in each bone. Okay. So now, it is a very important gland. No? So why? Because it affects our growth, no? Normal growth, maturation, temperature, energy level, no? That's why in patients of having duharamana, no, hyper, no? So normal growth. Let's go to the children. So in patients, in children, for the newborn screening, part of the one that is tested is the thyroid, diba? Because in order to detect what they call as hypothyroidism, the cretinism, because if the infant or the child is found to have low thyroid or have low thyroid or low thyroid hormones and will not be treated, So the patient or the child would succumb to what they call as cretinism. What's that? Stunted growth, at the same time, irreversible mental retardation. So that's why it's one of those tests that really must be tested sa mga infant. Of course, when the child is born, more or less they have the same face, no? The same, even their size. We don't know if they're hypo or hyper. But knowing the status of the thyroid of the patient at an early age is really life-saving. No, if I don't know if you can still see posters about the two child, um, one that is treated with hormones and other one not. So the other patient or the other child, when was detected earlier, given hormones, they just grow normally. But the other child who was not treated really succumbed to cretinism, no, dwarf, and at the same time uh, mentally retarded. So why? Because our hormone is very important, no? Growth, maturation sa brain, and body temperature. So later on, I understand those patients who have hyperthyroidism, they have heat intolerance, no? Even you have full-blown aircon, you still feel very cold, very hot, no? Those are on the hypo side, they have cold intolerance, no? And energy level. So those patients who are hyper, no, they're very energetic. So many sila, oy, they seem to have 100% energy until 5 p.m. No, those who are hypo and hypo side, they seem loading when you talk to them. You seem to have cannot understand right away. No, and they seems kuan always tired. No, so again, thyroid hormone is very important. There are two major thyroid hormones: your T3 or the triiodothyronine, the most active form, and then your thyroxine. Very important in the regulation of thyroid hormones is very important structures, no? Your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, and your thyroid, no? So in cases of increase in hormones, it will signal your or decrease in hormones, decrease in thyroid hormones. It will signal your hypothalamus, no? Through the thyroid releasing hormone to stimulate your pituitary gland to release TSH, which in turn signal your thyroid to make synthesize more hormones. So they work hand in hand. No? So that's why when in diagnosing for thyroid disorders, you need two tests. Dili na siya pwede isa. It's always TSH, and the other one is, no, of course, the hormones, T4, FT4, no? Because they work hand in hand. So that's the basic test I need to test, no? If you want to know if there is a hypo or hyper, or there is a problem in thyroid. So now, let's go to how our hormones synthesize. So I'm discussing it before going to the drug, so that you will understand where our hormones are, no? So now in making hormones, like in making a certain menu, no, very important in making hormones is the iodine. So basically, we need our recommended daily need as adult is 150 microgram. If in pregnant patient and in patient who are lactating, we need higher dose, no, 200. And for children, much higher dose, 250. Because again, children, they're in the stage of growth, their stage of maturation. So that's why we need higher amount of iodine, no? So where can we get iodine or iodine? So where can we get iodide? We can get it from the food that we eat, no? Look at their sangkap Pinoy seal, check na nimo. And there's always iodide there. Or the salt that we are using, it's incorporated with iodine, iodized salt, no? It's not like before, di ba? Usually the salt, it's taken from the sea, no? So, sa una, because there are a lot of cases of iodine deficiency because they're using the rock salt. That's why the government mandated, no, that they always been that salt must be incorporated with iodine, no, so that so that when cooking food, there always be a iodine in there, or iodide in there. Could also get from water and also from medication. So what are the medications that has high iodide content, like your amiodarone, no? This is high iodide content in itself. Your thyroid gland, he moves about from the pool, no? So from the food, water, medication, it enters the extracellular fluid pool. So from that pool of the iodide, our thyroid gland, since they're making thyroid hormones every day, they get it from 75 micrograms from it in order to make hormones. And the other one, it is excreted in the urine. No? Now let's go to the synthesis of hormones. Very important. No? Again, from the food that we eat, no? From the food that we eat, medications, no? So the iodide, again, it starts with iodide, no? So it is transported, so from that pool, the iodide is transported into the thyroid gland. There's a very important importer, no? That transport it from the outside pool to the thyroid gland. This is what you call that sodium iodide importer. So this is found in the cell basement membrane, no? So very important here, why I present this figure is that some drugs or even contrast, iodide contrast, will inhibit the transport of iodide into the thyroid gland. So what are those? They are the anions, thiocyanate, pertechnetate, perchlorate. But actually, this is still a protective mechanism of our body or even a part of negative feedback. No? Why? Because if you have a lot of iodide, then your thyroid hormones need not to create more hormones. No? Kadaghan naman. So again, in cases that you have a lot of iodide in your body because you are given maybe contrast, no? Given thiocyanate, technetate, perchlorate, so it will inhibit our importer from delivering iodide from the pool, extracellular pool going to the thyroid gland. So aside from that, as iodide, sodium iodide importer, there's also a very important iodide transporter enzyme, no? That's also part of the transport of iodide, but it's found across the membrane, uropendrin. So it's good for you to know this because there are syndrome, no, or disease associated if this pendrin or if this iodide transport enzyme is deficient. No, because some mutation, like example, SLC26A4 mutation. So if this part is mutated, no, so the patient will have a deficient or absent pendrin. So what will happen? You will have a patient who is of a goiter at the same time deaf, because pendrin was also found not only in the thyroid gland but also in the inner cochlea of the inner ear. So if there's a patient who was both gani goiter and deaf, so you'll be suspecting part for differential diagnosis is this what they call as Pendrin syndrome. They may have a lack or deficient of that iodide transport enzyme. No, so the first transport enzyme, the NIS. The second is the pendrin. Now, after your iodide is transported in your thyroid gland, your iodide is oxidized to iodine. So it is iodine form that is now used for the formation of your hormones. Very important enzyme in that oxidation is your thyroid peroxidase. So take note of that because this enzyme is the one that is blocked by our thionamide drugs. So thionamide drugs, later on you will understand who are those drugs, which are used in patients with hyperthyroidism. Hyperthyroidism, and we have excess hormones in the body. No? So again, iodide to iodine is made possible by the action of very important enzyme TPO or thyroidal peroxidase. So it is this iodine form that rapidly iodinates the tyrosine present in your thyroglobulin. No? So now it coupled with your tyrosine forming your monoiodotyrosine or the MIT, no, MIT, or your if two iodine, it's diiodotyrosine, that's DIT. You know, that's what they call as iodide organification. Again, iodide, iodine through TPO, then your iodine coupled with tyrosine, it will make into MIT or DIT organification. Next, again, as what I've told you earlier, I mentioned it, we discussed it because the TPO, this is the enzyme block by our thioamide drugs so that so that the formation of hormones is hold in cases that there's already a lot of thyroid hormones in the body. And also if there's a lot of iodide, this is also blocked. Next, if the 2-DIT form, the 2-DIT will form now your T4. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 1 MIT plus 1 DIT, 1 plus 1 DIT, it's 3. 1 plus 2 is 3. So now, then it will form these important hormones, T4 and T3. After they are formed, mag-annotate ko ha. Okay. Can you see now the mouse? Can you see? Okay. So after now they are formed, then they are released from the thyroglobulin into the blood. No? Some of the iodide, if it's not used, they are reutilized. The T4 and T3 goes into the blood. It is peripherally converted into its active form T3, no? And then it goes its function later. That's what discussed: maturation, growth, temperature, no, and so on and so forth. Okay. So here also it is blocked by radio contrast media. That's one that is discussed a while ago. Beta blockers. Take note of this. I will understand it later on. Steroids and amiodarone, no? The peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. So take note of that. Okay, so now, di ba, here na no, we are now, the active thyroid hormones go out of the thyroid gland, it goes to the blood, peripheral converted to T3. Now, how are these enzymes removed or metabolized? There are 3 important enzymes that deiodinate or metabolize, no, the thyroxine, no, or the active form also of the end of the thyroid hormones. So they are D1, D3, or deiodinase 1, deiodinase 2, and deiodinase 3. Take note that it is the D2 or deiodinase 2 and 1 that convert your thyroxine into its active form T3. Again, diba, nakay T4. You can also make T4 and T3 by the what they call as combination with tyrosine. But in the blood, we don't want to have an active of hormones is always the T3. So our T4 is converted to 3,3 by the D2 or D1 enzyme. No, diba? Tuluman sila. D1 or D2. But among the D2 and D1 or deiodinase 2 or 1, it's the deiodinase 2 that has a major role in conversion into its active form T3. Now, what happened? What's the role of D3? So the role of D3 is to convert into the inactive form of thyroxine, the reverse D3. No, it's the D3. Again, D2 or D1, it will convert T4 to the active hormone D3. While your D3 or deiodinase 3 is the one that convert your thyroxine into the inactive reverse D3. No? So now, in cases wherein in severe illness, severe infection, starvation. So amiodarone, contrast beta blockers, so these conditions will inhibit your deiodinase enzyme, no? Or especially the T3. So what will happen is that when you get thyroid hormones, no, if request for TSH, you will expect this panel. There is low T3 and high reverse T3 levels in the serum. So my point is, it's not always, all patients will request for TSH because malibog lang kag samot, no? You will just confuse yourself. So when you'll do your clinical practice later on, aside from TSH is very expensive, huh? It's not a cheap laboratory test, no? That's why if you will request this test, make sure that you have a ground while you check it, not just you just love to check it though, no? Every laboratory that you will request, please make sure that you have reason for doing that, because again, this is a very expensive test. So again, if you happen to really request for this test, and hala, why is my T3 low? Is there a problem with my thyroid hormones? No, it's not. No, it's just as in cases where you're using amiodarone, beta blockers, steroids, as well as in severe illness and starvation. it will affect, no? It will affect these hormones. So you'll see in the profile, you have low T3 and high reverse T3 levels in the serum. Okay. So again, in comparison to T4 and T3, in the blood, they're higher T4. They're higher T4 than T3. No, higher production, 75. This is already 25, no? Half-life of T4 is 7 days in comparison to T3, which is already 1 day, no? But in comparison to the two, your T3 is more potent than your T4, no? Okay? So now let's go first, di ba? Duhara na, no? Thyroid hormones, low, normal, low, high. So let's first start with the low. In hypothyroidism will result to a syndrome that will result largely to a reversible slowing down of body function. If the hormones is low, so you will expect the patient like this, more or less they are fat. No? They are, again, loading, no? Hinay, no? Hinay movements, hinay, complaints of fatigue. In infants, again, as what I've told you earlier, if this would not be corrected, this would lead to dwarfism and irreversible mental retardation. So what are the causes of hypothyroidism? No? First is if there is an autoimmune destruction of thyroid gland, this is what they call as Hashimoto's thyroiditis. No? You will, patient will end up hypothyroid also if you're taking drugs that would block hormone formation. Example, your patient is taking for a long time thioamides because of hyperthyroidism. So, and lost to follow up, keep on taking the high dose of your thioamides, then they will succumb to hypothyroidism, no, or decreased hormone. That's why in cases in patients with thyroid disorders really need the patient, especially on initial follow-up, they really need to follow up with you more frequent because the adjustment of the medication really depends on the hormone level. No? So those patients who are using that for a long time, lost to follow up, they're taking the high dose, so they end up hypothyroid. No? What else? The patient who has dysharmogenesis, no, wherein they have impaired synthesis of T4 because of enzyme deficiency, or the patient has thyroid gland removed. Of course, there is no more source for the thyroid gland, no? Thyroid hormones, or like thyroidectomy, or patients will have congenital problem with hormones, no? Or with the receptor itself, or cretinism, or problem with the pituitary or hypothalamus itself. So, muna among differential diagnosis, no? So, why is the patient hypothyroid? So, here, maybe Hashimoto's thyroiditis, drug-induced. So, are your differential diagnosis. So, manifestation, I will just choose we have over time niya. So, again, pale, cool, puffy, yellowy face, no, dry, brittle hair, no, drooping eyelids. What else? What else? Decreased appetite. You say, Doc, I don't like to eat, but why am I fat? No? So, you check the TSH. No, if you have a friend, Doc, I cannot understand, I cannot memorize well, I cannot understand. You check the TSH. No? What else, no? Anemia. So in reproductive system, it will result to menorrhagia. So that's why in OB/GYN patient, no, while we have prolonged bleeding, 1 month bleeding, so they also check for TSH. Because decreased in thyroid hormones also that we look at that, there's a lot of manifestation. So that's how important our hormones is, no? Because if there is a low hormones, it would result to all of this manifestation. Okay, so again, as what I've said, I got this from Harrison's, no, just for you to have an understanding ba, how to, at least an idea how to manage cases like that. So again, how to diagnose hypothyroidism? First, you measure the TSH. If the TSH is high, so more or less it's a compensatory mechanism for a low hormones, no, thyroid hormones. If it starts starting or normal pa, it may be the patient is just, and the patient has is already symptomatic, no. Usay man good, it will not, the hormones will not follow directly. It will take time, no. So if it's symptomatic, you treat right away. But if the patient has no symptoms, you may repeat it, that the thyroid hormones. But if the TSH is high and the T4, if T4 is low, then you really treat it for primary hypothyroidism. No? So again, what can you see in the test or the laboratory? In patients with hypothyroidism, of course, the thyroid hormone is low, no? The T4 is low. Basically, you will check for the free T4, no? Because a lot of your thyroid hormones, my God, is bound to TBG. But what will you request when you check for thyroid disorders is the free T4. Okay, so we'll expect for a low free T4 and a high TSH. Because again, remember the axis, no? So what else? Management. Now let's now go to the drug. Okay, so we're dealing with hypo. So the management is replacement. Okay, so we'll be giving them levothyroxine. No, so before there are drugs that LTC, no, leothyronine, but it was found out that even if you combine the levothyroxine plus leothyronine, it's not actually superior, no. So that's why in the market, the patients who are suffering from hypothyroidism, the one that is being given is replacement of the hormones. It's levothyroxine, brand name like Eltroxin, no. So, Doc, how will we treat them? It depends on the age and it depends on the weight. Again, infants and children, they have high requirement for levothyroxine because again, they're at the stage of growing and they need more hormones in order to mature and grow normally. So this is how we calculate it. So this is also present in your Katsung, ha. So 1 to 6 months old, 10 to 15 microgram per kilogram per day. For adult, 1.7 or start with 125 micrograms per day. More than 65 years of age, much lower na. In patients whose thyroid has been removed for a long, they need to have replacement man of thyroid hormones, but at 2.2 microgram per kilogram. No, it's not really necessary for you to memorize this, but at least you have an idea. Okay. What else? This is also very important to note that in patients who are old, no, and with cardiac disease, we need to start low, no, not be that aggressive. So start with the low dose. Like example, older patient start with 12.5 to 25 microgram. Start it for 2 weeks. You will not expect if you check for TSH, you will repeat tomorrow. No, it will take time for it to normalize, no. For old patient, you may request your patient to be back after 2 weeks and check the hormones again. So again, in managing patients with thyroid disorders, you really need lab tests. It's kind of expensive disorder, no? So again, as what I've said, if the patient have a problem with the heart, you need to start low because if you start very high with levothyroxine, it may precipitate arrhythmia, no? So hinay-hinay lang, 12.5, repeat mo after 2 weeks, no? And when you monitor patients with thyroid disorders, you not only monitor the lab test, but also the symptoms, no? Okay, so what else? Very important in these drugs for pharmacokinetics that a lot of food, drugs affect its absorption. Diba I told you nga, it's not just an ordinary food. If you are taking thyroxine with a drug or with a food, it will decrease its efficacy. So that's why you give thyroxine on an empty stomach. No, it would be before a meal. You start when the patient wakes up. You drink immediately. 1 hour before a meal, or do hala, I forgot. I already took a meal. So 4 hours after, you can take it. Okay, you instruct your patient. You must take it without food. Okay, so you can take it before meals, 60 minutes before meals, or 4 hours after meals, or you take it at bedtime. Okay, so the goal of the TSH is within 0.5 to 2.5. Okay, so so what are those medications that could affect, no, your the affect the pharmacokinetics of your thyroxine, levothyroxine? So the one that is enumerated here, so they are known to affect, but as a rule, doc, daghan kayo. So as a rule, basta you take in an empty stomach, no, don't take any medications or food together with it if you want it to be very effective. Again, it is a long half-life, no? And again, very important, before you change a dose, you need to check the TSH and the free T4. No? And also, it takes 6 to 8 weeks after starting a given dose of thyroxine to reach a steady state. in the bloodstream. That's why, kung young lang ang patient, pwede rin ka maingon, start with, kanina, no, we have competition. Ma'am, you go back after 2 months. Okay, so after 2 months, you check na po the laboratory. So, except lang if the patient is old and cardiac, about 2 weeks. Okay, so again, it takes time. The management of patients with thyroid disorders in changing medication, whether decrease or increase the dose, takes time, no? Because it takes weeks or months for it to reach a steady state. Okay, so toxicity is directly related to hormone level. So as what I've said, in patients who are giving hormones. So if the patient is already taking hormones for a long time, no follow-up, so it will result to a hyperthyroidism na po, or increased hormones in the body. So if they come in fatigue, very slow moving, then the manifestations or adverse effect if taking a long time without adjustment of medications would be the opposite: restless, insomnia, no, heat intolerance, all the manifestations of the hyperthyroidism, no? Okay, so that's why you need to monitor. Just really, the secret in managing patient is to let them understand what you are doing. No, do not just prescribe. No, patient come in, prescribe, take this. You really need to explain their disease. You explain why you're giving this. You'll be expecting a patient really adherent, no, to really follow up with you, because they understand what they're doing. They understand why are they taking those drugs. Okay. What else? So in patients, especially mga old patient, no, they may succumb to what you call as myxedema coma. So this is the end state of untreated hypothyroidism. So you're gonna have a patient who are stupor, no, very bad neuro findings, no, stupor, hypothermia, hypoventilation, hypogly. So you will check for the TSH. So more or less, the patient has myxedema coma, no. So they must be treated in the ICU. And as much as possible, you give all the preparations IV, no, because most of the time, the absorption is not good. But I don't know, so far, I haven't encountered an IV hormones. That's why it's very difficult. No? So if you don't have any option, a patient with this kind of neuro manifestation, then you're gonna give it in GT na lang. No? So treatment, again, since very low hormones, then you give hormones, no? Preferably IV, but I don't know if we have IV in the Philippines. I think wala, no? So what else? Also give steroids, hydrocortisone, no? If you think there's also an associated adrenal or pituitary insufficiency. Now, very important, good, when the patient who is pregnant. So part na, no, sa what that's been checked by the OB is the thyroid hormones if the patient is pregnant, no? Why? Because again, if the mother is hypothyroid, then it will affect the development of the fetal brain. So that's why it's one of the tests that must also be tested with the mother. So again, sa gito hypothyroidism, it will lead to anovulatory cycles and menorrhagia. So again, in patients with problem with the thyroid, no, meaning hypothyroid mother, meaning there's a low, when you found out to be hypothyroid, then you need to have a thyroid hormone replacement, thyroxine. But again, very important, if you're giving levothyroxine, it must be taken apart from the prenatal vitamins, diba? As already told earlier. Okay, so there's what they call as a goal when you check it. First trimester, more or less, the TSH is usually, it must be 0.1 to 2.5. So hypothyroidism, if taas ni sila, no? 5, 10, inana. Now, very important also in patients who are pregnant, that because of an increased level of your TBG, you need a lot of your thyroid hormones is bound to your thyroid binding globulin, no? That's why they're only left with very little hormones in the system. So the patient pag it is hypothyroid, we need to increase the dose by 25 to 30%. So matinga ka, taas lagi ang dose sa pregnant. Because again, related to pregnancy, you have increased your binding TBG. So decrease ang thyroid hormone sa system. So you need to add twice an extra dose of the current thyroxine tablet twice a week. Okay, again, increase the thyroid dose about 25 to 30%. Now, subclinical hypothyroidism, meaning when you check the thyroid hormones, the TSH is elevated, but the hormones is normal. Doc, will I treat this? Again, it should be individualized. No? But the consensus would say that really need to start a hormone if the TSH is already more than 10. No? Or the patient is in childbearing stage and wants to be pregnant. So you need to be more aggressive. Okay. So again, you need to start. That's why it's called subclinical, meaning that the TSH is high, but the hormone is still normal. So when to start? TSH more than 10, or the patient is ready, wish to be pregnant. So you need to be more aggressive. Okay. Now we're done with the hypo. Now to the hyper. So here, opposite na, no? The hormones is very high. So manifestation, no? Especially for Graves, the ophthalmopathy, no? What else? The dermopathy, no? So you can see enlarged thyroid gland, ophthalmopathy, dermopathy, acropathy. Look, there's a specific manifestation of the nails, no? Kita nimo. Again, the opposite of our hypo, no? The skin, sweating, warm, heat intolerance, mong hair, very brittle, no? There is what we call specific manifestation in the skin, here in the tibia, pretibial dermopathy. In the eye, there is eye retraction, no? Especially for Graves. There's this exophthalmos. There is diplopia, cardiovascular system, very tachycardic, no? So you check for the thyroid, no? What else? Menstrual irregularities. So patients also with kind of problem with again, even hyper, they have also infertility problems, no? So patients who really love to eat but will not di sila manambok, no? Increase appetite, but it will not gain weight. So, or the patient who is frequently have bowel movements. So you check for the thyroid hormones. Very nervous. Again, when you diagnose it, check the TSH and FT4. So what you'll found, very high thyroid hormones, PT4. TSH is low, no? So what else? Kana, no? High T4, T3, low TSH. So that would be the hyperthyroidism. Management, there are 3 options. You can give the drugs, radiation, no? Or removal of the thyroid gland. Now let's go to the drug. So these drugs are called thioamides, no? In patients who have small enlargement of the thyroid, small glands, and mild, we can opt to use the thioamides, no? There are 2 options, methimazole and propylthiouracil. But in between the two, the methimazole is preferred. Why? Because of the side effect of our PTU, no? So, but in comparison to other options for treatment, usually when patients with hyperthyroidism treated with anti-thyroid drugs, they usually require mga 1 year, no? 12 to 18 months. And drawback of this also is they may have cases of relapse. So meaning, it may take time for them to normalize. So that's the drawback of only having anti-thyroid drug. So again, as what I've said, in between the two, methimazole is preferred. Why? Because one of the side effects of these drugs is its effect on the liver. And the two, what has been associated with hepatitis is your PTU. Methimazole, yes, may cause, but lower risk. No? So aside from that, methimazole, since it is long-acting, usually you can just give it once a day. No? So diba, once a day, so it would increase adherence to the part of the patient. So usually it started with 20 to 40 milligrams initially. So 4 to 8 weeks, repeat again the hormones. No? But if the hormones has already been in steady state, usually the patient just maintain 5 to 15 milligrams once a day. Now, when will we use PTU, doc? So there are cases that really PTU is preferred over methimazole. One is in the first trimester of pregnancy, and in cases of thyroid storms. Later on, you understand why, doc, what happens in thyroid storm, why PTU is much useful in that stage. Okay. For PTU, as what I've said, your PTU has higher dose needed, 100 to 150 milligram. Aside from that, it's more frequent dosing, every 3 times a day, 3 to 4 times a day, in comparison to your metimazole, which is only once a day, no? So that's the reason why, kung wala, dili la good in thyroid storm and not pregnant yung patient, metimazole is preferred, no? So why is it used to in thyroid storm is that aside from, di ba, it inhibits your iodine organification in the biosynthesis. In the peripheral, in the blood, it also inhibits the conversion of T4 to T3. That's why in patients who are in thyroid storm, it will lower down your hormones fast, no? Than the metimazole, no? So adverse reaction would be some rash. So need to be more careful, or this is a red flag if the patient come to you when you see a CBC low, WBC, neutrophils count low, because this is a what they call as a emergency, no? You need to stop it right away. So because the patients who are on thienamides may have side effect what called agranulocytosis. So usually patients will come in sore throat, high fever, and their immune system is really very low. So that's why you need to stop the medication right away. So again, balik ta. Treatment for hyperthyroidism, antithyroid drugs, whether thienamides, metimazole, or PTU. So asa ang much better ang preferred metimazole. Why? Once daily dosing, decreased chance for hepatitis in comparison to your PTU. PTU can be used in cases priority first trimester of pregnancy. Why, Doc? Because your metimazole magod has been associated with congenital problem. So that's why PTU for the first trimester of pregnancy, they must be given PTU instead of your metimazole. PTU for thyroid storm can be used or preferred. Why? Because it will again katong the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. So that was done by your PTU. But actually, when you read guidelines or recent studies, I read especially the Japan Thyroid Association guidelines. They also advocated for metimazole na. It was found out just lately nga, it's still equal na PTU and metimazole. But for board exam purposes, take note of that. Okay. So now another way to decrease your thyroid hormones is again, especially for cancer, no? Removal of the thyroid gland, especially for very large glands, you need to remove that to thyroidectomy. Okay, but before removal, there are a lot of preparation pa, no? Like example, need the patient, dili ka pa, you must not do operation if the patient is in hyperthyroid state. You need to you make the patient euthyroid. Okay. RAI, radiation, no? Just did a capsule. You need to isolate the patient. Take note, iodine 131, no? So later on, after how many days, mag-peel off na dahil, no? It would peel off na dahil na imong mga thyroid glands there. Okay, so this is the dose 80 to 120 UCI per gram. Okay, so there are some preparation before the RAI. Like you need to stop your antithyroid drugs, no? Because it may affect the retention of the radiation. Okay, so what else? Very important to take note, especially for RAI, that since you are destroying your thyroid gland, patients may succumb to hypothyroidism. So for a couple of weeks, the patient must be replaced with hormones like levothyroxine. Okay, so adjuncts other therapy for antithyroid drugs again, ba? Especially hyper. So what will the patient manifest? Tachycardia, tremors, no? That's why you need to give an adjunct. So what are those drugs? Your beta blockers. Choose the beta blockers without intrinsic symptomatic activity. This was enumerated, no? Propranolol, metoprolol, atenolol, no? Especially in patients who are old, tachycardic, and with cardiovascular disease, we need to start these beta blockers, no? For propranolol, it's 20 to 40 milligrams every 6 hours. But take note lang ha, because again, these drugs may also lower the BP. So you check the BP, dili aggressive kaayo. You need to check everything. Litoprol, may start at 25 to 50 milligrams. Check the BP. The patient is okay, may start at 50 milligrams twice a day or 3 times a day. Or the patient 90/60, lower down. Okay? So this adjunct can control the tachycardia, hypertension, and atrial fibrillation. Later on, when your hormones is already been normalized, usually you need to taper down also your beta blocker. No? If example, the patient is hyperthyroidism as a goiter and the patient is asthmatic, di ba? You cannot give beta blocker. So what is the option, doc? You can give diltiazem. No? Diltiazem, 190 to 120 milligrams, 3 to 4 times a day. Okay? So in patients also who is very restless, no, and hyperthyroid, you can give barbiturates because barbiturates has two, no, mga barbitals ba? No? Phenobarbital, barbiturates. They can also help as sedatives and to lower than the T4. Aside from that, in patients really very high or thyroid hormone levels in the blood, you can also give your cholestyramine because this can also lower down, no, by excreting your T4. These are options. Okay. Now, thyroid storm. No, thyroid storm is also known as your thyrotoxic crisis. When there is a sudden exacerbation of all the symptoms of thyrotoxicosis, this is what we call a storm bagyo. No, so this is a life-threatening syndrome. If this will not be treated right away, then this will result to death. No. Oh, I have actually seen patients, no, having this one. It's very traumatic, even you as a doctor who treat it, no. Even hours, no? Pwede siya hours or days, especially when they come into you, grabe ng storm. It's difficult to control, no? So, like this one, this is one of my patients wherein I'm using your board sort of criteria. So, came in with a heart rate of around 139, no? And he came in around 0 here because mga 37 degrees, not yet agitated at the start, no? Patient complains of dyspnea. When we auscultate it, we have sort of mild trials lang. No? Patient have diarrhea. So when in a patient who has hyperthyroidism, we always do, you check for thyroid storm because the story will be different. No? And I total it's 45. So highly suggestive of thyroid storm. So you can also use your Japan Thyroid Association criteria in diagnosing thyroid storm. No? So it's a what you call as definite thyroid storm, and the patient has thyrotoxicosis, meaning decreased FT4, increased FT4, decreased TSH, but with the CNS manifestation, meaning the patient is restless, delirious, no, comatose, no. Patient is plus febrile, tachycardic, congestive heart failure, GI. So you need to treat it right away. So very important is you need to manage it vigorously. No? Vigorous management is mandatory. Paspas kidney if you want to save the patient's life. No? What will you give? PTU. No? Loading dose, high dose of PTU. 500 to 1 gram. So available ang PTU of 50. So makatag mga 10, no? Followed by 250, no? 500 to 1 gram of loading dose of PTU followed by 250 milligrams every 4 hours. So the patient is very restless. Patient will not follow commands, then you may give the PTU rectally, no? 400 every 6 hours. You can actually give also metimazole if no PTU available, 60 to 80 milligrams per day. Aside from that, so what it's its function? Again, there are a lot of hormones, high hormones, level. You need to block it right away. So it blocks the synthesis of hormones. Now, so your thioamides in patients with thyroid storm, it will only block the new synthesis of hormones. What about the hormones that's already in the blood? So other medications you can also be given. So your potassium iodide, you can give it every 6 hours after giving thioamide. So there's a lot of hormones, it may retard its release, no, from the thyroid gland. So we need to increase it right away. In patients with thyroid storm, no, very tachycardic, di ba, as high as 140, this is the time that we'll give the beta blockers, either propranolol Ismolol, no? Or diltiazem, it's if they are allergic to beta blocker, or the patient is asthmatic or COPD. Giving of steroid is also helpful, no? It may also help in blocking the conversion of your T4 to T3, no? So, okay, so you learn from that discussion. So again, for thyroid drugs for thyroid disorders, you have hypo and hyper. Hypo, wala, no hormones or decreased hormones, and you give hormones. What are those hormones? Levothyroxine. Okay. Now for the hyper, there is a very high hormones. You need the hormones that block the synthesis. What are those hormones? Thioamides, PTU, and metimazole. Other adjunct, your beta blockers. If you are a beta blocker, specifically your propranolol and your atenolol, metoprolol, no? So if ever the patient is allergic to that, they may opt for diltiazem. Okay, so that's end with our discussion for thyroid drugs. Now let's go to the drugs that affects bone mineral homeostasis. Okay na ta? So very easy now, very easy to memorize, very easy to understand. Now, let's shift our focus to the drugs that affect your bone mineral homeostasis, the balance, no? So, bone na punta. Now, very important mineral, no, in our bone, and we need to regulate it very carefully, is our calcium and phosphorus, okay? So, these two elements or minerals, this will not only good in as a mechanical support to the bone, but if there is problem with this hypocalcemia, hypercalcemia, this will also deleterious to the cells. Example, hypocalcemia, it may result to tetany, or hypercalcemia, it may result to even changes in sensorium, stupor, or kidney stone. So these elements, this must be tightly regulated. They must be on their normal level, or else they also deleterious to the health of the patient. The primary regulator for your calcium and your phosphorus is, again, parathyroid hormone, your vitamin D, and your FGF, or fibroblast growth factor 23. Again, so what are the hormones that really regulate it into its normal level? The three: PTH, vitamin D, and FGF23. Secondary regulator of these two very important elements is your calcitonin, glucocorticoids, and your estrogen. So these drugs that mimic or suppress the function of these hormones are very important in diseases that would result because of the problem of these elements. So very important to mention are your osteoporosis, your rickets for children, osteomalacia for adult, and then your Paget's disease. Okay, so what is an osteoporosis? No, there is a progressive loss of bone mass. So as you can see in this example, if this is the normal bones, what can you see in this osteoporotic bone? No, there is progressive loss of bone mass, and the skeleton is very fragile. So because of this bone is very risk for fracture. Osteoporosis, patient in the postmenopausal stage, especially women, no, they are prone to osteoporosis. Why? Because, diba, the protective effect of our estrogen. When you're on your menopausal stage, your estrogen is very low, no? So, estrogen has a lot of use in maintaining the bone homeostasis po, no? So in patients who are postmenopausal, since there is very low in estrogen, so a lot of patients, especially postmenopausal, would succumb to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis can also occur in patients who are on long-term steroids. What are those patients, doc? Patients on rheumatoid arthritis. Oh, they must, in order to decrease the inflammation of the body, they have to be given steroids for a long time. No? So that's why in patients who are on long-term steroids, glucocorticoids, are also risk for osteoporosis. What else? In patients who have thyroid problem that is left untreated, thyrotoxicosis, there's also at risk for osteoporosis, no? So osteoporosis is accompanied by decrease in vitamin D and in reduced intestinal calcium transport. So why are these patients succumb to osteoporosis? Again, if there is a problem na, later on, again, di ba, itong vitamin D, FGF23, and PTH no kato, it would result to more on the what they call as resorption or destruction of the bone, no? Dili na siya mabalance. That's why it would succumb to osteoporosis. So this is what happened in patients with osteoporosis. This is the normal bone matrix. Then this is what happened until the bone is really very fragile. No? So osteomalacia, so this is a condition wherein there is abnormal mineralization or softening of the bone. So usually the cause of osteomalacia is problem with vitamin D, no, or deficient vitamin D. It could be nutritional cause, or there is really a problem with inherited problem with the formation of your vitamin D or the formation of your active vitamin D metabolites. If this occurs, if vitamin D is deficient in growing children, it would result to rickets, no? The condition with the cause what you call as rickets. Now again, osteomalacia, there is softening of the bones, secondary to your vitamin D deficiency. Now, there's also another condition affecting the bone, is what you call as Paget's disease. The origin is unknown. It's a bone disorder characterized by excessive bone destruction. No? Very luoy kani those patients who have this disorder and disorganized repair. So until the reason is kanang obscure pa, but there was studies pointing out to measles, no? Children having measles early. No? It affects the growth of the bone of the children. So linked with measles virus. Complication, the patient have Paget's disease would have deformity of the skeletons, as you can see here. No, what else? This is very painful. No, what else? They also may result to kidney stone. Why? Because in patients with Paget's disease, they have elevated calcium or hypercalcemia. So there's elevated calcium in the blood, it will form stones, especially in the kidneys. And it will result to even organ dysfunction, heart failure, no? And also pressure from bony overgrowth. Okay, so what are the drugs that affect the bone mineral homeostasis, meaning affects your calcium and your phosphate? There are hormones and non-hormonal regulators. Regulators, again, sa itong primary, PTH, vitamin D, FGF23, but FGF23 is not a drug, it's just negative regulator. So for the drugs, you have your PTH, or hormones, PTH, vitamin D, calcitonin, estrogen, and glucocorticoids. While the non-hormonal regulators of bone mineral homeostasis includes your biphosphonates, fluoride, but as of now, it was proven that it has no proof. It may have, but it did by studies. It did not prove any use in osteoporosis. And calcimimetics, and the other one, your rank ligand inhibitor. So we're gonna tackle it one by one. So let's start with the hormone ng sa. Again, very important to understand in this figure. I really love figures, no? Is what regulates your calcium and phosphate. So there are three important organs here, as you can see. You have your intestine, you have your bone, and you have your kidneys. Okay, now, so first hormone that regulates our calcium and phosphate is their parathyroid gland, or parathyroid hormone. Our parathyroid hormone, there are peptide hormone produced by our parathyroid gland. So what will your parathyroid hormone do? Now let's start with the kidneys. So, as you can see here, so okay. As you can see here, so what will your parathyroid hormone do? If this is excretion of calcium, it will inhibit the excretion of calcium. No? So again, remember how your parathyroid hormone inhibits excretion of calcium. But how about its phosphate, doc? It promotes phosphate excretion. So as you can see, there is plus here. Again, what is the effect of PTH on the kidney? It inhibits excretion of calcium while it promotes excretion of phosphate. What else? What is its other function? How about its role in vitamin D? Your parathyroid hormone, as you can see in this figure, there is plus here. Your parathyroid hormone stimulates the production of active vitamin D from your 25-hydroxyvitamin D, forming 1,25-hydroxyvitamin D. No? So again, in order to form an active vitamin D, parathyroid hormone has a very great role. Balik ko na sa nato. Role of your parathyroid hormone in the kidneys, promote or decrease calcium excretion, meaning it would especially in cases where there is hypocalcemia. So what PTH will do, it will decrease excretion of calcium, while it promotes excretion of your phosphate. In the kidneys, it also forms or stimulates the production of active vitamin D from 25-hydroxy vitamin D to 1,25-hydroxy vitamin D, which is the active form of vitamin D. What else? What is its action on the bone? So here, as you can see, PTH plus, meaning your parathyroid hormone has both a role in bone formation and bone resorption. So as you can see in this figure, it affects both your osteoblast, meaning the formation of your bone. It also forms the removal or the resorption of your bone, the osteoclast. No? Sila both PTH and your active vitamin D. No, again, it will affect both, not only the formation but the destruction or the resorption of bone, or through its action on osteoclast. Now, again here, as you can see in this figure, your PTH encourage formation of bone, but it also affects the what they call as resorption of the bone to its action on osteoclast. How would they do that? By what they call as activating or stimulating your rank ligand. No? It is actually your osteoblasts who secrete your rank ligand. So what is the function there of your rank ligand? So this rank ligand stimulates the activity of your osteoclast and differentiation of your osteoclast precursor. Meaning, breakdown, of course, sa bone, din pwede form lang ta. No? We also need to balance the turnover of the bone with the resorptions. In order to balance it, your PTH affect both your osteoblast formation and your resorption. So how it affects your resorption? Still the osteoblast through the rank ligand. The rank ligand stimulates more osteoclast to function as what they call as resorption. Okay. So why do we need to know that? Again, there are drugs that are formulated, no? What they call as recombinant form of parathyroid hormone. It was found out that if you have a high dose of your parathyroid hormone, the effect would be, example, like in cases of cancer of the parathyroid gland, no? So the effect would be increase in bone resorption, meaning breakdown sa bone, very brittle bone. Again, high dose in cases of cancer, very high dose. It would result into broken bones or bone resorption. It will result into hypercalcemia. Ano ga ito mag-hypercalcemia? Diba? It would prevent excretion man of calcium reabsorption man and hypophosphatemia. But it was found out that if it is given in low intermittent dose, like example with this Forte or teriparatide, the recombinant form of your PTH, the effect actually is not on the resorption or breakdown of the bone, but on the formation of the bone. That's why formation of this drug is used or can be used in the treatment of osteoporosis. Again, what's the dose? Low intermittent dose. Why? Because if you give the high dose, or in patients with cancer, which is very high in PTH, opposite man, no? Resorption, broken bones, hypercalcemia, hypophosphatemia. But if there are drug given very low daily dose, lahi ang effect, no? More on formation. That's why this can be an option in patient with osteoporosis. Okay, your teriparatide, brand name Forteo. Okay. Now, other drugs that can also be used, your abaloparatide. This is also an analog or PTH hormone or of your PTH hormone. Again, this is an agonist of your parathyroid hormone receptor. So again, given subcutaneously, no, to increase osteoblastic activity. Remember the figure? Blast class, no? The ratio sa blast if given low dose. So leading to increased bone formation and bone strength. Okay? So this is the mechanism of action. Again, but it was found out also, this is very good alternative, no? But this drug, if given put in a long time, no, it was also found out that since it is a PTH gihapon related, it may still result to hypercalcemia if given long term. No? And in rats, it was found out that patients are at high risk for osteosarcoma. That's why if you're using this drug, it must not be given more than 2 years. So if you choose to use this drug, you give it lang maximum of 2 years. If you don't want to have the adverse effect of hypercalcemia and risk for osteosarcoma. So, sabot? Okay, so let's move on. Now, we're done with PTH. Again, PTH, high dose resorption, broken down. Low dose, teriparatide. Can be used in treatment of osteosarcoma. Now, let's go to the vitamin D. No? By Fern D, there's already a lot of drugs in the market because actually this is a very good drug. Again, vitamin D, part of addict fat soluble vitamin. We can get it. We can get it from the skin, diba? From the child. Inotas itong mamapainit mo early morning. Why? Because we have 7-dihydrocholesterol in the skin, and with the help of the UV from the sun, it is converted to the active form of vitamin D. Start with the provitamin D, then to D3, cholecalciferol. It goes to the liver, be formed into 25-hydroxyvitamin D, then into the active vitamin D, 125-hydroxyvitamin D. No? So where can you also get vitamin D? You can get it from the diet, from the food that we eat, or from the plant, no? In the form of your D2 or ergocalciferol. Okay? So now, again, balik na punta, vitamin D, skin, sun, D3, pro D3. Cholecalciferol, it goes to the liver, it forms or into 25-hydroxyvitamin D, then it goes to your kidneys to form the active vitamin D, 125-hydroxyvitamin D. Okay? In cases where there's already a lot of vitamin D in the system, it's converted not to the active vitamin D, but into 24-25 or C-calciferol. No? Okay. Now, what's the function of your vitamin D? Lot of function. Again, go back to the 3 important organs. We're dealing with calcium first, intestine, bone, and kidney. Now, what's the function of vitamin D? Sa intestine. So, your vitamin D, kita niyo na plus, it function to increase the absorption of your calcium, no? Calcium and phosphate. No? If you have vitamin D, your calcium and phosphate can be absorbed well. No? That's why it's very important. Usually, calcium plus vitamin D, gina see it in the market, no? Na silang duha. Aside from that, what is function in the bone? It's same with the PTH. It affects both formation and resorption. In the kidney, what will it do? It will cause reabsorption of your calcium and phosphate, or dili ka mag-excrete, you're retaining calcium and phosphate. No? Negative. Okay? Balik. Function of vitamin D in the intestine, absorption, increased absorption of calcium and phosphate in the bone, both formation, resorption. In the kidneys, it will retain or it will cause reabsorption of your calcium and phosphate. So, dili ma-excrete. Okay? So, there are a lot of metabolites of analog of vitamin D. No? So, you can have, aside from treating deficiency states, no, we can have actually vitamin D, no? You can have the once a month na preparation, or you can get it plain vitamin D. And treatment of, again, what's that deficiency? Osteomalacia, no? For adults leading deficiency of vitamin D, softening of the bone, for rickets for children. If there is deficient states, it can also be given as a supplement, no? And also in patients who are osteoporotic, they are advised also to take vitamin D, no? Because again, they found out that osteoporotic postmenopausal women, one of the problem also is there's a problem with absorption of calcium or transport. That's why we need vitamin D, no? So again, aside from that, very important to take note that is calcium as vitamin D as a form of calcipotriene is also used in the treatment of psoriasis, no? Ano siya. So again, in dairy products and other foods, There's also been incorporated with a form of vitamin D known as cholecalciferol and ergocalciferol. Your calcitriol is the one that is the active vitamin D, no, that can be used as a supplement, no, calcitriol, especially in patients who are CKD patient, which is very prone for secondary hyperpara. To counteract that, they're given calcitriol, no. So muna siya. Cholecalciferol D cure. This is once a month. You can also have your ergocalciferol. This is the one, some added food, no, so that they have vitamin D, no. So what else? Since vitamin D is also has the risk for hypercalcemia, diba? Ano ganito mag-hypercalcemia? Number one, vitamin D increase absorption of calcium in the intestine. What else? Your vitamin D, diba, it causes reabsorption of calcium and phosphate. So, taas po kayong vitamin D, you will actually prone to hypercalcemia, no? So now in patients that have high risk also for hypercalcemia, there are drugs that are formulated that has less risk for hypercalcemia in the form of your paricalcitol and your docurcalciferol, no? So again, your calcitriol or vitamin D is also used in the treatment of secondary hyperparathyroidism. Your calcipotriene is used in the treatment of psoriasis. Okay? So again, move na ta, PTH, vitamin D, FGF23. FGF23 is not used as a drug. Actually, this is just a regulator. Example, there's already a lot of calcium in the blood, calcium, a lot of phosphate. It is the one that will turn into action in order to inhibit it inhibits vitamin D production in order to decrease that. So more on regulator and is FGF23. So now, this is a summary. So you read that, if you want to have a one table to discuss the effect of PTH, vitamin D, FGF23, then you can have this table. Very good table. Okay. So now calcitonin. Ato na ta sa secondary regulator. So what are your secondary regulator? Calcitonin, estrogen, glucocorticoid. So where is your calcitonin produced? By your thyroid gland. Now, what's the use of your calcitonin? Okay, in cases wherein there is hypercalcemia, the calcium is really, really high. So where it is, what condition it will cause, what condition that will result to hypercalcemia? Paget's disease. Diba? As what I've said, sa Paget's disease, destroy man ang bone. It would release calcium. What else? Cancer, no? Cancer of the malignancy can also increase calcium. So if you want to decrease your calcium acutely, very fast, no, because the patient is already suffering from manifestations of hypercalcemia, no, neurologic manifestation like stupor, coma, or the patient does vomiting na. So what you need to do is you need to have a drug that would decrease your calcium. So what is this drug? Your calcitonin. So as you can see here, plus. So plus meaning it causes excretion of calcium and phosphate. No? So what's the mechanism of calcitonin in decreasing calcium? One, it inhibits bone desorption. No? Meaning, ataka sa negative. So it will inhibit breakdown sa bone. It would decrease the chance that the calcium would go into the blood. So inhibit bone desorption and inhibit renal reabsorption of your calcium and phosphate. That's why in patients who have, again, osteoporosis causing hypercalcemia and also fractures, you can also use this calcitonin. No? Your calcitonin is available. Pwede siya as a form of injection and also as a form of nasal spray. So this is very unique, ha? So, okay, nakita na other preparation can be used as nasal spray, no? Yung calcitonin. You have actually human calcitonin and salmon calcitonin. But in between that, salmon calcitonin is preferred because of its longer half-life and greater potency. So this drug is very used, especially in patient who has osteoporotic fracture and is really complaining of severe pain, kato mga Paget's bitaw. So this is the choice, or this drug is the option if you want to, if you want to treat, no, pain associated with osteoporotic fracture. Okay, adverse effects, since it's a nasal spray, of course, rhinitis and other nasal symptoms. Okay, again, calcitonin, what is function? It would decrease your calcium, no? especially in patients with budgets and hypercalcemia. How? Again, it will promote excretion of calcium and phosphate and inhibit the resorption. Two preparation, nasa injection, nasal spray, and other property of calcitonin very unique to him, to this drug, is to relief of pain associated with osteoporotic fracture. Okay. Now, estrogen, diba? Patients who are menopause, they are at risk for fracture, no? Because it was found out that in patients who are menopause, wherein there is decreased estrogen, it would, at this time, since the estrogen is very low, it would promote activation of your osteoclast. So that's why paspas no ang resorption. So estrogen replacement was actually first considered, no, as a treatment for post-menopausal bone loss. Nga naga ito, basta mag-menopause, decrease estrogen, your osteoclast, which is responsible for resorption, has been activated, no? So before, estrogen replacement was the option. But it was found out that patients who are only using pure estrogen are at risk for breast cancer and endometrial cancer. So that's why estrogen plain was no longer recommended for preventive therapy for osteoporosis, no? Hindi lagi ka mag-osteoporosis pero magka-cancer sa ka, pili lang. So basically, it's not recommended. No? Now, there is a drug that is recommended for the prevention and treatment of osteoporosis, which actually selective estrogen receptor modulator. So it's what they call as your raloxifene. It has estrogen-like effect on bone, no, that prevents the resorption, but it has antagonist effect on the breast and endometrial tissue, which is actually very good, no? So, and even this drug, raloxifene, it decreases the risk of invasive breast cancer. So that's why it is approved for the prevention and treatment of osteoporosis, especially in patients who are on menopause. Okay, raloxifene. So, but again, this is not the what they call as the first line, because naapay much better. So other complaints of the patient with this drug, your hot flashes, leg cramps, and it may also put the patient at risk for VTE, because of hypercoagulability state. Okay, but this is also a good drug. Again, this is a good drug. So what else? Let's now go to the non-hormonal regulators. You have your biphosphonates. This is very important. Alendronate, etendronate, no? So what is the mechanism of action of this drug? It would reduce both the resorption and formation by its action on the hydroxyapatite crystal. So more on the bone structure or the hydroxyapatite crystal structure. So it would retard the formation and dissolution of hydroxyapatite within and outside the skeletal system, no? So here, so it would retard, no? It would retard the resorption. So aside from that, it has also effect on both vitamin D and calcium. At the same time, especially your amino biphosphonate or alendronate and residronate, it inhibits your farnesyl pyrophosphate synthase that has a critical role in osteoclast survival. So with this drug, it would retard, it would retard bone resorption. So that's why this drug is used in the treatment of osteoporosis. Aside from that, this drug is also used in the treatment of hypercalcemia and in patients with Paget's disease. And in long-term chronic use, it would prevent and treat all forms of osteoporosis. So this is the first-line drug for osteoporosis, your biphosphonate. So this drug, so lahat po niyang acno, more siya sa structure, hydroxyapatite structure. So in the long term, it would increase the bone density. At the same time, it would reduce fracture. Very important sa pharmacokinetic side is that since this drug has a very low bioavailability, so you need to take the drug. If we want to increase the concentration or availability of drug in the body, you need to again take it in an empty stomach. So it was emphasized here, take at least 30 minutes or abandonate 30 minutes before other food, drink, or medication. Except for residrodate that you need to take, you may take it immediately after breakfast, no? Kanina agad siya advice, no? So aside from taking it in an empty stomach, This drug may also cause gastric and esophageal irritation. No? Sakit po niya siya diri. That's why in patients who must take this biphosphonate, they must take it to drink. You must take large quantities of water, no, 6 to 8 ounces of plain water. And when you take it, you must remain upright, do not lie down or recline for at least 30 minutes. Okay? So nga naman, Doc. Okay, so basically, if you take the drug, lot of water, upright, so it will push the tablet here, not here. So it will decrease the chances of your gastric or esophageal irritation. So you need to take it again. Full glass of water, 6 to 8 ounces of plain water. At least 30 minutes, remain upright, do not lie down. Okay? 30 minutes for ibandonate to take at least 60 minutes after taking to avoid gastric and esophageal irritation. Okay, so there was what we call a post surveillance study nga. If you take higher doses, kanina po higher siguro in cases with malignancy cause, taking biphosphonate for patients or malignancy cause very high na very high dosage, there were cases of osteonecrosis of the jaw. So that's why it was advised not to take only the recommended dose. So what is the recommended dose? For alendronate, 10 milligrams per day or 70 milligrams per week. So this is available as an oral or effervescent tablet. So again, for weekly dose, 70 milligrams. For daily dose, 10 milligrams. Ibandonate, there's availability of tablet and IV. So you can give an IV every 3 months. For tablet, 2.5 milligrams per day. If you want it for month, to be 150. For Residronate, it has two preparation, an oral or delayed release. You can take it daily, you can take it weekly. So for daily, 5 milligrams per day or 35 milligrams per week. I will not let you memorize the dose. No? That's very unfair. Anyway, for you to know lang. No? So very important here is what are those drugs that can be given IV. No? So Bandonate and then zoledronic acid. They're very typical for alendronic is the once a year dose. So take note of that. So let's also board exam question. Again, we're done with biphosphonate. So they are the first line, no? Of all the treatment for osteoporosis. They are the first line drug. So what else? Rank ligand. Diba? Remember the rank ligand? Asa to? Osteoclast, no? What causes the resorption is your bone resorption is increased function of your rank ligand. So this was also a good area of study for drugs such as denosumab. So what the drug denosumab do, it binds and prevents rankle. So if it prevents or binds rankle, then it will decrease the osteoclast function of bone resorption. Oh, very bright, good. So it is also as effective as biphosphonate in inhibiting bone resorption. It can be used for postmenopausal women, no, osteoporosis. So sub-Q every 6 months. No, this is a good drug. So sub-Q every 6 months. It's well tolerated, but since diba, it is a monoclonal antibody, its drawback lang is the increased risk for infection. But this is a good drug. Again, every 6 months can be used in place for your biphosphonate. No? So unsay mechanism, again, prevent rank ligand. Rank ligand would cause the activation of osteoclast, bone, bone resorption. So very good drug. So last drug used for hyperpara and CKD, no? Secondary hyperparathyroidism is your cinacalcet, no? So what is its function? Natupod siya sa PTH, no? So it lowers PTH by activating the calcium sensing release. In patients who have very high, diba, very high secondary hyperparathyroidism like in CKD or in patients with parathyroid carcinoma, they are at risk for hypercalcemia. So this drug can be used to decrease that, no? So how will they do that? So it activates the calcium sensing receptor in the parathyroid gland, therefore acting as a negative feedback for the production of your or the function of your PTH. That's cinacalcet. Okay. What else? So we're done. No, we're done. So very important hormonal treatment of bone mineral disorders. Specifically, what mineral? Calcium and phosphate. Hormonal, we have primary 3. What are those? PTH, your vitamin D. Sa ika-third, FGF23. So, regulator ni si FGF23. Secondary regulator are your calcitonin, your estrogen, steroids, no? So, meaning those are the drugs but that affect the bone marrow. Non-hormonal biphosphonate, remember the alendronate, ibandronate. So, very important nila is, again, how to take it. Empty stomach, they must be empty stomach and upright, no? What else? Your denosumab, Rankal inhibitor. Ay natong fluoride, before lang it was investigated, but it was not found to have doesn't affect, no, or be important in osteoporosis management. On Sinacalcet or calcimimetic. No, again, its function is inhibit the function of PTH, no, especially in patients with parathyroid carcinoma. Okay, so we're done with the drugs that affect bone mineral homeostasis. Now let's go to the last. Time check 10:55. Drugs used to treat for obesity. No? So what are the drugs used to treat obesity? So these are anorexia. So those drugs that affects or decrease the appetite. So what are those drugs? Diethylpropion, phentermine. So GLP receptor agonist, no? Lipase inhibitor, serotonin agonist, and some combination drugs. No? What is obesity? No, they suggest excess adipose tissue or sige na magugong kagkaon mo na obese ka. No, it's actually like it's not only as simple as that. There are a lot of reasons why a patient becomes obese. Genetics, no, metabolism. So when you treat a patient with obesity, it's not only food that is concerned and exercise, no. So we need also to treat the patient holistically. Okay, so how will we measure or how will we know that the patient is obese? Of course, by using your body mass index, no? So weight over height, no? Obesity, if it's already more than or equal to 30 kilogram per meter squared. More morbidly obese if more than equal to 40, no? What else? We can also check, very important also to measure the ratio of waist, no? Waist measurement to body height, no? So why do we need that? Because in patients who are especially very big tummy, no? Abdominal obesity, they are predictor for cardiovascular risk, no? So they are at risk for both cardiac, no? They are associated with the metabolic syndrome that has an increased risk for cardiac and diabetes. So when you counsel a patient who is obese, you will emphasize why do we really need to lose weight? Why? Because in the long run, it will not be treated or no intervention done, you will succumb to cardiovascular problem, heart failure, heart attacks, and even diabetes. No? So, and one of very good, what they call that, one of very good effect of losing weight is that if you lose weight, even 5 to 10% lose weight, it would decrease the BP and improve your glycemic control. So, yun mo nang ingon ana. Not only will be look better, look good, but it has implication both your heart and decrease diabetes no risk or decrease glycemic control. So again, when will you start treating really medication for obesity? So number one, when the patient has increased risk factors, no? Hypertension or hypertension, diabetic, no? And high risk for cardiovascular diseases and katong also the diabetes and the BMI is already more than equal to 27 or the patient has no comorbidities, not hypertensive, not diabetic, but it's really obese more than equal to 30, no? So we really need to start medication na. Start sa og lifestyle modification, but if no improvement, then you really advise taking na obesity drugs, no? Drugs for obesity are considered effective if they demonstrate at least 5% reduction of body weight compared to no treatment. So if you treat patient, so of course, apil na gyud ang diet. So tagaan na nimo og Taga ni time, no? Siguro 3 months no ani mo. Be 3 months ta ha, way ni mo karon with the medication. If there's no reduction at least 5% of the weight, then that drug is not effective to your patient, no? So what are those drugs again used for obesity? First drug, but now currently withdraw from the market is your what they call as serotonin agonist, your fenfluramine and dexfenfluramine. Brand before is ionamine and pondimin. So they are serotonin agonists, specifically the 2B agonist to the 2B receptor used for weight loss. Before it is combined with your phentermine, which is also another anorexans. But was withdrawn for the market because it was found out, Bubitanay, di ba? We already have a discussion on that. You always have a post-market surveillance. So the medications that we have in the market, if there are adverse effects, really need to be reported. No? Like this drug, it is withdrawn from the market. Why? Because it was found out that patients who are taking this drug develop a valvular problem and results to pulmonary hypertension. So that's why it was withdrawn. So you cannot see these medications in the market now. But just for us to know that there's such thing as serotonin agonist or fenfluramine and dexfenfluramine before. Second drug is your lorcaserin. So if your fenfluramine acts on 2B receptor, serotonin 2B receptor, then this drug acts on 2C receptor. So in which this 2C receptor is actually found in the brain. So it activates your 2C receptor, resulting to increase pro-melanocortin, activating your melanocortin receptor, and it would result to decrease appetite. So patient taking this medication, they lose weight because they don't like to eat, no? Meaning very increase satiety, very small food lang intake. They will just, I'm already done. So mechanism of action again, 2C receptor activation, no? Activating your POMC and then your melanocortin, no? Again, reminder, if the patient will not lose at least 5% of its body weight after 12 weeks or 3 months, then you need to stop the medication. Okay. What else? Again, for this drug, it is marketed as Belviq, no? Lorcaserin 10 milligrams Belviq. It is extensively metabolized in the liver, but it was not yet studied heavily with severe hepatic impairment. But to be safe lang in patients with severe hepatic impairment, no, you must not give this drug. And this is not recommended aside from severe hepatic impairment. This must not be taken. Patients with severe renal impairment must not also take this drug. Okay. Adverse effect, your nausea, headache, dry mouth, dizziness. So very important also, since it is a serotonin agonist, you must not take it with another serotonin agonist drug. Like example, your SSRI or SNRI, like your fluoxetine, escitalopram, no, mga antidepressant. Why? Because if you will give this drug, serotonin agonist, plus increase serotonin in the system, the patient will be at risk what we call a serotonin syndrome or neuroleptic malignant syndrome. So what are the manifestations? No? Serotonin syndrome is a life-threatening syndrome. Consists of a combination of mental status changes, as agitation, pressure speech, autonomic instability like tachycardia, diarrhea, and then your neuromuscular hyperactivity. So this would result, if you take a serotonin agonist, lorcaserin, with another serotonin, SNRI or SSRI, where there is increased serotonin in the system. So no good. So if you want to give this drug, you must always ask the patient, ma'am, are you taking any drugs? So that you would always be, as a doctor, when you treat a medication, you always ask for the patient's maintenance meds or the patient's medications he or she currently taking. Again, we will look for drug interactions. Okay, so neuroleptic malignant syndrome is also an emergency, a neurologic emergency, characterized by mental status changes, rigidity, fever, and dysautonomia. So again, these are the two syndrome, life-threatening neurologic emergency that will happen if you give a serotonin agonist plus an SNRI or SSRI. Okay. Phentermine, another drug used is, diba, kanina is dexfenfluramine, your lorcaserin, now your phentermine, the third drug used for obesity. So what is mechanism of action is this drug? It would increase the release of norepi and dopamine. So if it would increase, diba, your norepi and epi, there is what they call as your fight-flight response. So the effect gihapon ani is decreased appetite. Diba? When you are on very stressed, do you like to eat? Naiuban, ingon nila nga, love to eat when you're stressed. But most of the time, if your sympathetic nervous system is activated, most of the time you don't like to eat, no, or the appetite is affected. So just like this drug, so this is a mechanism of action. It would increase your norepi and release of norepi. So it would decrease appetite. But of course, this drug is a controlled substance because it has a potential for dependence and abuse. Since, diba, norepi man, it will increase norepi in the system, so you will expect this patient to be tachycardic, high BP. So, in patients who are hypertensive with heart problem, you must not choose this as your treatment for obesity. Okay? So, Orlistat, so this is also a good drug, no? So, who among you tried this before? This is a lipase inhibitor, so it would result to decrease weight or decrease in weight because it inhibits your gastric and pancreatic lipase. So the dietary fat breakdown will be decreased about 30%. So it would result to loss of calorie because of decreased absorption of fat. So if you're taking a lot of fatty foods, and example, you're taking this drug, so your fats will not be absorbed. So what will happen? One of its side, so this is a good drug, diba? So it will not absorb fats. So what is its adverse effect lang in which a lot of the patient will stop? It's because, especially if you're taking a high-fat diet, no, it would result to oil spotting and flatulence. So look at your kanang sa tawag na brief, you can see, uy, hala, there are a lot of fats there, like oily, very oily. So again, why? Because the mechanism of action of this drug is decreased absorption of fats. So how will you minimize that? Of course, if you are dieting low-fat diet, no, or I may use concomitant cholestyramine. But this drug, again, is indicated in patients who are pregnant or patients with chronic malabsorption syndrome. What else? Very important to take note that this drug also interferes with the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins and some drugs like amiodarone and levothyroxine. Again, very important. Like again, what are those drugs that patient is taking? Check for drug interaction. Liraglutide, very important, no? So karon sa tawag ana, very what do you call as popular in the market, semaglutide, Ozempic, no? So this drug is also used in patients with diabetes, no? One na gitawag na initially lang they found that those patients who are diabetic who are taking this drug also lose weight. So that's why it has two dual use, no? Lower sugar at the same time lose weight. But they also do this study, especially in mga Ozempic, liraglutide, in patients who are not diabetic but obese. It is also very good. So that's why I personally use, my husband is kind of on obese BMI. So this is how the medication that I give him is Ozempic, semaglutide. This is the same with liraglutide, but semaglutide, Ozempic is once a week. So that's why it's very it's very kanang popular to the patient. At least once a week ka injectionan, no? So it will lose weight. Why? Because it will suppress your appetite, no? So I really can attest to this because he loves to eat. But since we started with Ozempic, his really diet would love for food really decrease. So hopefully he will lose weight na. Anyway, so two ways well it decrease or decrease the weight or is through slowing the gastric emptying time. At the same time, again, effect gyapon sa brain, no? So appetite suppression. So this is a very good drug. Liraglutide, semaglutide, exenatide, no? Kanilang Relaglutide, exenatide, once a day. So every day ka mag-inject. So that's why a lot of this Ozempic, the semaglutide, always gina siya out of stock, no? Really need to hoard. There were times that I hoard it so that I have a stock. Meaning, because a lot of patient man God wants this because once a once a week, the Ozempic. You try to read about it. So phentermine, topiramate, very important. Topiramate is used as an anti-seizure, anticonvulsant drug, but it was also found out that it also can be used to promote additional weight loss, no? But it was found out that especially this topiramate, it was associated with birth defects. So this is not also a good drug. Yes, it can be an option, but not the first line drug if you want to lose weight. What else? Your naltrexone and bupropion, no? Still, the mechanism of action is appetite suppression, no? So what else? So these are drugs used for obesity, no? So as enumerated, so read this. So a lot of them are appetite suppression. So sige, itong isa lang, very typical lang, murag lahi yung mechanism of degree of weight loss, your early stat, no? So why? It inhibits gastric and pancreatic lipase, decreasing absorption of fats. So what it's kuan lang, side effect kato, oil spotting, flatulence. And the rest, Relaglutide, what I've said, treatment for diabetes and also for weight loss. So again, this one, review this, the dosage, no? So, and its toxicity. I think that's all for, so what time it is? 11:11. So when end up early. So any question? So again, we tackle 3 topics this morning plus Dr. Arnetta's topic. Hopefully, even if it's a little fast, but hopefully you absorb. No, you absorb. Please read a book, huh? The book is really good, especially in the Katsu, you can read there the thyroid and bone mineral homeostasis. The obesity is in the Lippincott. No, kuan lang, very little discussion on obesity in Katsung. So please read the book, okay, for you to have a really thorough understanding of the topic discussed. So any question before I'll end my discussion? Wala na? So any more question? So if there's no more question, please. Yes.
May I ask po if there are instances that levothyroxine is instead given to hyperthyroidism cases?
Okay, sige. Again, what happens in hyperthyroidism? There is increase in hormones. If you give levothyroxine, samot no ka increase.
So dili jud siya
what
ihatag, Doc?
Of course. So what cases, Doc, nga tagag levothyroxine? Katong kung ingon nga the patient was lost to follow up and has been taking medication for hyperthyroidism, example, metimazole for a long time, high dose. And you check the hormones, nabali. Nag-hypo na inoon.
Yes, Doc.
So that would be the time na di mo na pong kuan na sad ka, supplement na po to normalize it. Ana.
So nag-start, Doc, sa as hypo, then na hyper,
No,
then dira pa mo levothyroxine balik.
No, it start with hyper. Diba? Hyper, increase hormones. So what do you give? Thioamides, metimazole, or PTU. So in patients, again, for patients who have thyroid disorders, you really need to monitor. So you start na ka high dose. In your monitoring, kung the hormones already in the steady state, you need to lower down the dose. Until some of them, even 18 months, you can stop already the drugs for hyperthyroidism or your thioamides, metimazole, or PTU. But there are patients yun nga, dili mo follow up. They will not follow up and they are keep on taking the high dose of your thioamides. So what will happen when it's time that they follow up with you, they now have the symptoms of the hypo, kanalabian man, no? The hypo, nakapag-check ni mo, uy, ang before lab test nga hyper, ang presentation na hypo na siya, kaya na-overdose, na-overdose siya sa, kuan ba, drugs to decrease the hormones. Ubos na nun, na-drop na mayang hormones. So, that's the time you will hold the drugs for hyperthyroidism, and siguro you can initiate ginagmay lang sa the levothyroxine, no? Just to normalize the hormones in anak. Nasabtan
Okay.
ko.
Apo, Doc. Thank you for that, Doc.
Pero when you are on the hyper side, of course, you will not give a hormones kay samot man. So you'll give a drug that will decrease the synthesis of hormone. Again, a hyper man, hormones taas. So you will give drugs that will decrease the hormones, the thioamides. Again, metimazole, PTU, plus adjunctive if with what they call as symptomatic, tachycardic, what they call as hypertensive, tremors. So kamay ka-add og mga beta blockers. Monitor. Nana. So need really monitoring, no? Sa to 6 to 8 weeks, nana. Earlier kung again patients with cardiac problem kay kuan gyud na timpla gyud na di jud ka aggressive kaayo ano kay mo paspas kay mo aggravate ila mga arrhythmias. So is my explanation clear? Wala naman
Yes,
naglibo.
Doc.
Kung hypo ka, of course, hormones, hypo man, low hormones, you'll give hormones, levothyroxine. Okay, so any question? Okay, so wala na? Wala na. Sige, I think it's high time to dismiss the class. No? You
Apo,
can
Doc.
So much, Doc.
take picture na lang for attendance, or at least we have a documentation lang of our discussion this morning. So who will take the picture?
I'll take na lang po, Doc, the picture.
Sige.
Ako ate Mary.
Okay na? Sige. Okay, thank you everyone. Please share na lang a copy of your classmates who were not able to attend my class. So basically, I will not give my slides because I really want you to read the book. Sige. Thank you everyone. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Dato.
Much, Doc.
Thank you, Doc.
Thanks, Doc.
Recording stopped.